It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports,
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
It is the Pete Sousa Show, sponsored by Slovaceks. We've got a Big 12 special for you coming up today. A huge day as the Big 12 tournament is kicking off in Oklahoma City. First game, first pitch, I'll be on call, 2:30 p.m., Baylor and Kansas. We've got 3 games today, 4 games tomorrow. Super stoked. You can check them all out on ESPN+, and then 2 games on Friday, the semifinal. We're going to talk to Eric Lopez today. We talked to him earlier in the week, but we're going to do a primer for you to get you ready for the Big 12 tournament. But we're going to start with my main man, Jake Hatch, a fresh interview with one of the freshest dudes in the Big 12. Jake Hatch gets us caught up on everything that's going on with Big 12. A couple of huge BYU, a couple of huge acquisitions during the offseason. Keanu Tanuvasa is one, and then also Tiger Bachmeier, who I'm super excited about, just joining the Big 12 as a receiver who can not only catch passes but return kicks, and apparently he's awfully bright as well. So that's coming up next. Jake Hatch from Locked On Cougars, a great conversation, followed by Eric Lopez, a final primer for the Big 12 softball tournament. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovagics, coming up. Jake Hatch from Locked On Cougars is back with us once again. I was mentioning to Jake, I got to talk to Cam Stewart from Locked On Baylor just yesterday, and now here we are, Locked On the Cougs, and really an interesting time of year. Spring ball has wrapped up all around the country, particularly in the Big 12. What is the feeling around Provo, Salt Lake, all BYU fandom as to where the Cougars are headed after spring ball wraps up and after a season that was beyond expectations, maybe a tough go there towards the end, but a lot of anticipation, I would imagine, around BYU football.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing about BYU football right now, Pete, is they expect to at least repeat what they did a year ago. Now, they were that close to playing in the Big 12 title game and having a chance at the college football playoff. That was all right there had they beaten either Arizona State or Kansas. So they want to one-up that. They want to make a run to the Big 12 title game. They want to be in the college football playoff. And the fact that they're returning a bunch of their pieces, that gives them a lot of hope that they can repeat that and hopefully make a deeper run this year.
So when you look at the roster, I think one of the things that was really exciting for me as just somebody who covers the Big 12 and follows BYU, the Tiger Bachmeier addition is huge, I think. I mean, the guy seems like he's tailor-made for BYU. What's your insight on that acquisition?
He's a guy who's going to come in and compete for playing time right away. Now, he had a phenomenal freshman year at Stanford, a little bit quieter of a year last year, but he has got just the ability to come in, I think, immediately contribute for BYU. They lost Keelan Marion to the transfer portal, and it's hard to replace that. But the nice part is Tiger Bachmeier, besides being an all-around wide receiver, he's also got some return ability as well. So that fills in that role quite nicely. And let's just mention the fact that he's absolutely brilliant. He graduated with a computer science degree in 2.5 years at Stanford, of all places. Don't tell me this kid can't digest the playbook and contribute right away for BYU, because if you can get a computer science degree in 2.5 years, my hat goes off to you.
Yeah, and I think you'll have a feel for sitting down underneath certain types of coverages this year as you see it coming off the line of scrimmage. His brother Bear, this guy is, turned down offers from Oregon, schools like Notre Dame, to go to Stanford, flips his commitment with his brother. Where does he fit in the future of BYU football?
He will come in and compete right away. McKay Hillstead and Trayson Bourget figure to kind of be that three group, them alongside Barrett figure to be the three guys backing up Jake Retzloff this year. And then should none of them transfer, obviously with the transfer portal, it's always a question mark, but should they not transfer come next spring, it appears to be a three-way battle for the QB1 spot in Provo. And whoever can end up winning that overall backup job in training camp this August would likely have a leg up in that competition. But you look at Bear Bachmeier, 6'2", 220, 230 pounds. He's got some shades of Taysom Hill in him. And I don't invoke that name very often when it comes to athletes, but he's a dynamic athlete. I think he's got a better arm at this point in his football journey as a freshman QB than Taysom did, but you can see shades of that in him, and Cougar fans are well versed in what to expect from a quarterback like Taysom Hill. So I think BYU is excited to have him. His pedigree suggests he is a football player first and foremost, and you can do a lot with guys like Bear Bachmeier.
So when you look at Jake Retzloff and his great success last year, I think a lot of it, BYU had mojo last year. There was something greater than around that program moving it forward, it felt like at times last year. And Jake Retzloff was kind of the conduit to that. I would imagine it could be tough for him to meet expectations this year after such a big year, right? Last year, such a successful year where the ball really bounced his way and the Cougars' way a lot of times. Where is your feeling on his level of expectation heading into this year? It's a brand new slate.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's put a lot of pressure on himself. At the end of spring ball, he sat down with the media and said, I want to be at the Heisman Trophy ceremony in December. And I think more than a fair share of us kind of were like, what are you talking about? No, he's got that goal for himself. He believes he can get to that level of being a quarterback. And if he does that, that means BYU's put together a pretty special season, if not an undefeated run at that point, when he would get that invite. He has had benchmarks placed before him, like I think Aaron Roderick said it on my radio station. He wants to see Jake Retzloff go from 57.9% completion percentage to 70%. That's a pretty big step up. And let's say he doesn't get to 70. Even if he pushes it to 65% completion percentage, that's good enough for BYU. Same thing with his touchdown to interception ratio. Aaron Roderick said he wants to see a 3-to-1 ratio. Last year it was essentially 2-to-1. It was 2 to 1.2, 20 touchdowns against 12 interceptions. He's got to cut down on the game-changing mistakes, interceptions, fumbles, and the like. He did a decent job at that last year. If he can continue along that path, upgrade his overall output, there's a decent chance he could finish off his BYU career with a flourish, and ultimately he expects to do just that.
Now, BYU football, obviously, Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator. When you think about that offense coming up this year and nuances or maybe changes that Roderick may have shared with you as to how things could be made a little bit more quarterback friendly for Retzloff this year, any insight there on what might change to make life a little easier on him?
I would imagine that they'll tailor maybe some of the passing concepts to fit what he's most comfortable in terms of throwing the ball to. Now, there has been this ongoing notion that BYU avoids the tight ends at all costs in their offense, even though they recruit the tight end position at a pretty decent level. They just got a 4-star commitment out of Brock Harris. I think the simple fact of the matter is different quarterbacks have different preferences when it comes to where they like to throw the ball to, when in doubt, where they'll throw it off to. And the other side of it is if you have a dynamic tight end that can come in and be that safety valve, it's a big part of BYU's history is when they've had tight ends who can stand out. They are highlighted in this offense. I think BYU is expecting Carson Ryan to step into that role this year as a transfer from Utah. And if he is that, you could see an uptick in that production overall with him dumping it off to the tight ends and the running backs a little bit more. But I think they'll tweak it mainly just to fit what Jake is most comfortable with, because he'll communicate with the coaches, hey, I like this route, but I want to maybe run it a little deeper. I want it run this way. They'll tweak it that way, but the overall concepts, they will remain constant for Aaron Roderick.
I was reading that it could have been you or someone. I think it was. I was reading on KSL that Carson Ryan had a great spring, and there was a lot of excitement around his addition, and that's a great answer to that question because the tight ends can be the best friend to a quarterback, especially someone you tend to press in big moments, right? And especially in these wide open offenses. So that's pretty cool to hear. As far as BYU's defense is concerned, how have they improved this offseason?
They have improved by significant leaps and bounds, particularly on the defensive line. They added, obviously, Keanu Tanavasa from Utah, and that obviously created a whole firestorm of social media reaction. And then they topped it off by taking Justin Kirkland from Oklahoma State. Now, allegations of tampering and all this nonsense, so be it. But that defensive tackle tandem is going to be the best defensive tackle tandems BYU has seen in Kalani Sitake's tenure quite easily. And if they can hold up and occupy the blockers and make plays on the interior of the defensive line, that makes Jay Hill's defense that much more effective. I'm not saying it wasn't effective last year because they were top 40, top 30 in most defensive metrics and were really, really good. But having guys like a Keanu Tanavasa, like a Justin Kirkland in the middle, and then the linebacker tandem of Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly back for another year, BYU's defense should be absolutely ferocious. And they were pretty attack-minded last year. I think they'll up that even more this year.
It's so funny. Like, I'm a guy from the Northeast, right? So I grew up around and still do, I'll leaf through the New York Post because I love the sports section. But, the Jets hierarchy and management, the Giants hierarchy and management over recent years has gotten a little frustrated with, hey, the back page of the New York Post is always covering the Jets, not the Giants anymore, right? Now, I look out in Salt Lake, this is or Utah, and among the fan bases there, it's been football wise kind of Utah heavy, right? Excitement wise, and like Utah and the Pac-12 and all this stuff. And they were, at least from an outsider's view, you know way more than me, but they were atop the perch there, right? Now it seems like there is a bit of a shift, not only with basketball, but with football too. You mentioned Ryan, you mentioned Tanu Vasu, these Utah players coming over to play for BYU. Is BYU sort of taking over the pole position in that state football-wise?
I think BYU would like to think so, because obviously they want to be the top dog. And for multiple decades under Lavelle Edwards, they were just that. The 70s, 80s, 90s all belonged to BYU, and Utah fans, I think, understand that, and they resented that fact. Now, you look at the past decade, the 2010s, Utah was in the Pac-12, BYU was independent, and simply put, BYU was not able to have that Power 5 label attached to their name, and Utah used that to great effect. Now that BYU is in the Power 4 ranks, BYU has completely shifted the dynamic, and they've done it in really, really record time, just 2 years into the Big 12 tenure. They have really changed the overall outlook and philosophy and the whole thought process as to how we cover stuff here in the state as well. The Cougars were always a draw just because of their large fan base. It's literally an international fan base. But the fact that they're having success in basketball and particularly in football, they have completely shifted the dynamic here. And Utah, they're going to have to match that. We'll see if the new additions on the coaching staff for Utah can do that. Jason Beck is a former BYU quarterback. They've got 2 other former BYU players, actually 3 former BYU players on that offensive staff at Utah alongside Beck. They know what the power of the brands of Utah and BYU and how much they mean to the fan bases here in Utah. It'll be interesting to see kind of the give and take both of them have this year.
When we go to the basketball court, obviously it's been a phenomenal offseason for Kevin Young and the Cougars. Where are we at now as far as the pulse on that team as we head into the summer months? It's something that has been talked about so much, and rightfully so. It's almost nice that it's cooled off a little bit. You don't open up your computer every time and see this. You know, it gets a little annoying, I think, for other Big 12 fans to see, oh my God, BYU signed another 5-star or whatever, or got another big transfer. What's the pulse of the program heading into the summer?
Very positive. Now, heightened expectations, obviously. You bring in AJ DeBonsa. They had their first ever practice with him officially just earlier this week. And the bigger thing is they're looking at this as, okay, we made a run to the Sweet 16 last year. Now we have brought in the guys like Robert Wright. We brought in AJ DeBonsa. We've brought in Dominic Diamande, Kennard Davis Jr. The transfer portal additions have elevated the overall base of this program. So how much further can they take that this year? And that's the pulse of what BYU's dealing with right now. There's going to be expectations they make a run to the Sweet 16 at bare minimum next year, if not a Final Four run. And BYU's never been to a Final Four, Pete. So that's the type of stuff that we're talking about. There's historic levels of anticipation for BYU basketball.
Yeah, I wonder if our buddy Tyson Jenks has had to maybe like cut some of his long runs short now because it's just so much work to do.
Yeah,
you know? He may be at the computer all the time.
He is. I can tell you,
cool stuff going on.
He's filled in a lot more requests. There's no doubt about it.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about softball. I'm ramping up here. Be starting the Big 12 softball tournament. And obviously BYU is on the bubble, right? I got a chance to talk to Coach Eakin just a couple days ago. He feels like the Cougars should be in. Obviously, there's some work to be done in the Big 12 tournament. I had no idea your wife is a softball alum. That means she probably played for Coach Eakin as well, I would imagine.
She did. All 4 years she played at BYU. She played for Coach Eakin. He's a legend. He's been there since the early 2000s. And you're right. BYU softball, they had a run that was 16 straight years. My wife played 4 straight NCAA regionals during her career in Provo. And they've fallen on a little bit of hard times the last couple of years, missing out on the regional. And that's been their stated goal all year long. I know Eakin's been a broken record talking about saying, we want to get back to the NCAA regional. Yeah, they're firmly on the bubble right now if you look at the RPI metrics and everything. But if they can pick up a couple of wins here in this Big 12 tournament, that would go a long way to securing their spot in that regional and would mark BYU softball kind of being, I guess, back in a way. There are 2 programs, in my opinion, Pete, when BYU joined the Big 12 were at the biggest disadvantage. That was softball and baseball. As cold weather schools, it's tough to compete with the likes of the Texas schools, heck, even UCF, etc., when you've got warm weather destinations to compete with. But the nice part is I think Coach Eakin has overcome those challenges, and to get into the NCAA regional in just the second year in the Big 12 would mark a really, really nice hallmark of his long and storied career.
Yeah, I think sometimes we miss it because of, their lack of making it to the postseason the past few years. It was quite a shift. We've mentioned the word dynamic a couple times here. That's a major shift to go from the West Coast Conference to the Big 12. And BYU has taken all the punches, and they've delivered plenty of their own. And you feel like they're on the cusp of making that transition as a member of the Big 12 into the NCAA tournament, because the scheduling, the Big 12, the pitching in Big 12 softball, it is second to none. And I'm so excited to get there and see it with my own two eyes. What do you think it's meant for folks around BYU softball to make the trip to Oklahoma City now to be a part of this?
I think the biggest thing is they're excited to be part of the big time. Now, when they joined the conference, Oklahoma was still in the league, obviously, and they're the gold standard when it comes to collegiate softball and remain that way, even though they're in the SEC now. But the nice part is Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, they all kind of stepped up in the absence of Oklahoma after they left the league and have kept the level of play extremely high. BYU is, I think, the 6th seed, if I'm not mistaken. If I remember the seeding correctly. And that's a pretty nice spot to be, but that shows how much further they have to go if they really want to climb into the elite of the Big 12. But I think if they do make the regional this year, they make a run here in the Big 12 tournament, no matter how deep they go, I think it would mark that BYU, they can be a player in this league, even though they are at a disadvantage being one of those cold weather schools in the conference.
I would encourage everybody to watch Ilovea Brittingham. She is one of the best players in the country that people are not talking about. Her numbers speak for themselves. And then as does her play, I'm pumped to watch her. All right, last question for you. I want to wrap it up with football. What are you most excited about for the BYU football season? Again, it's way too early. We're sitting here in May, but it's college football, right? This is what we do. We're stoked. Yeah. And on a positive note, what are you really excited about?
I'm just excited to watch this team do their thing. They're brimming with confidence. You can tell when you talk to these guys. They're excited to hit the field, and they have taken everything, I think, to another level. Now, that includes in the weight room, that includes in their film study and the like. Injuries could undo all this really quickly. We all know that. Football seasons get wrecked by injuries all the time, and the BYU's got to be very careful about that because they had a relatively injury-free season a year ago. They had a pretty injury-free spring camp. So if they can keep that rolling and stay healthy, they've got talent that is going to really help them compete at a national level this year. The biggest question mark will be, now that they have a target on their back, how do they adapt from going from being the hunter last year when they were picked near the bottom of the standings to now being the hunted? Because it wouldn't surprise me if they're at least at worst top 3 in the preseason poll, and they're going to be people wanting to pick BYU off all season long. How do they adapt to that? That's what I'm looking forward to see, and I'm excited to see it because you can tell this team is excited to go out there and make some noise.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 could be in a little bit of trouble when they line up across from BYU coming up this football season. You're in trouble too, pal, because now I know where your studio is in Salt Lake, and when I'm out there doing Utah basketball, staring at the walls in my hotel room, I'm going to come annoy you now in the morning.
Do it, man. We'd love to have you in. No problem at all.
All right, Jake Hatch, Locked On Cougars. Man, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the time, Jake. You do a phenomenal job, and nice to share the time today. Thanks for making time.
Thanks for having me, as always.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Combine that with OrganicHemp.com's top quality CBD for ultimate balance. Start your healing journey today at GlobalHealing.com and OrganicHemp.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your taste. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. At Tusain's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com. BizChair.com. Your one-stop shop for premium commercial furniture that blends quality with affordability. From ergonomic office chairs to durable restaurant seating, we cater to diverse industries including corporate, medical, hospitality, and education. With over 20 years of experience, we offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high-traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at BizChair.com to transform your business. At Mitzi, we believe the right light can transform any space. Born from a third-generation lighting family, we craft beautifully designed, premium lighting that's made to be affordable. Inspired by Grandma Mitzi's eclectic style, we're on a mission to make high-quality lighting accessible to all. Whether you're updating your space or adding a unique fixture, Mitzi has the perfect design for you. Beautiful, well-made lighting without the high price tag. Discover your perfect light at Mitzi.com. That's MITZI.com. Mitzi. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. The grinder mentality that Randy and Brent Habert built into 44 Pro runs deep within our team. Every member shares a passion for the craft, the game, and most importantly, the player. When you step onto the field with a 44 Pro custom glove, you'll feel the difference. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro. Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kitbag.
My main man, Eric Lopez, joining us right now from D1 Softball. Eric, man, great to see you, brother.
Pete, it's great to talk to you, which means I can't believe it. We're already in championship week. It felt like the other day the season started, but it's gone by fast, and we got an exciting conference championship to cover here this week.
Dude, I'm so stoked, and there's a lot of prolific players heading into this tournament. I want to know who you're most excited to see. You've seen them all over the course of the season, but as you get set to head to Oklahoma City, the softball capital of the world, for the Big 12 tournament, what player can you just not wait to see?
Gonna narrow it down to one? That's hard.
Yeah, you can give me your top two.
All right, well, I got to go with the obvious one, Nyjah Kennedy. I mean, she is worth watching in person, what she does, especially this year, Pete. We know what she could do with her arm, but her bat, she's had a pretty good year. I remember talking to Jerry Glasgow before the year. He's like, yeah, she can hit for power, and she has. So she's been a two-way player when she gets inserted into the lineup. So I'm excited to see that live in person. And I would say the other player to watch is Devin Netz, who might be one of the best two-way players in the country, might win Big 12 Player of the Year, ace for the Arizona Wildcats, but also has a big bat, middle of their lineup. So I would say those two would be a good start, but there's others.
So when you look at the bracket, how it breaks down so far, what team do you feel? Look, dude, you've been coming to this tournament for a very long time. I've been lucky enough. I got a chance to call it last year. I've been following it forever, obviously back again this year. But you came into the tournament, you'd look at Oklahoma and Texas, and especially Oklahoma. You'd say, okay, like, how is Oklahoma going to win? Okay, now we've got a wide open field, dude. What team do you think has the most advantageous edge coming into this?
It's a great question because it feels brand new, right? Like I remember a year ago by Thursday, once Oklahoma State was upset by BYU, it kind of felt inevitable it was going to be Oklahoma and Texas. I don't feel that way this year. I think Oklahoma State, you would think, on geography alone would have an edge, but they haven't played well in the Big 12 championships the last 2 years. So I think that's an interesting plot line to see if they could turn that around if they want to make a run here and win the Big 12 title, once something they do know the experience about from 2022 as a program. Texas Tech has the best player in the sport, so you always give the edge to that. But Arizona might have the better draw. They have the best offense in the Big 12, deep lineup, maybe the best outfield in the Big 12 with Dakota Kennedy. And, of course, you got Altmaier and Reagan Shockey with Nets, of course, being a two-way player and a lot of arms. I would say they're my favorites. I'm writing a preview for D1 softball, but they would be my slight favorites as far as just because I think they have the total package. Plus, Texas Tech has a brutal draw to get to the championship game with potentially playing, if they even get past the Baylor-Kansas winner, they may have to play either Ruby Malin and Oklahoma State or Arizona State and Kenzie Brown. Not an easy draw for Texas Tech.
And all these teams, as good as teams like Texas Tech and Arizona are, they're all beatable. They've been beaten at points this year, which is much different from the scenarios with Oklahoma in the past. When you look at Baylor, you know, a bubble team. We're here in Central Texas. A lot of people are honed in on this tournament to see how they can do and improve their standing to get in to the tournament. Where do you have the Bears right now?
They probably got to get to the Big 12 final to get to the bubble talk, and then, you know, automatic bid might have to be the rate. You know, this Iowa State series loss this weekend really hurt them. They were on the cusp. They got some great wins. But as we talk, they're a 500 overall record team with an RPI in the low 50s. They got to boost that up. And, you know, they're going to have to beat Kansas, and they're going to have to upset Texas Tech to get, and that gets them into the semifinal. Then you're probably going to have to play either Oklahoma State or Arizona State. Got to win that. That's how you get yourself in that large spot, I think, is to get to the Big 12 final. But the fact, Pete, that we're even having this conversation, considering the injuries that Baylor has had this year, is pretty remarkable. I mean, I think Glenn Morris basically had to depend on Lily Walker. I feel like every time I tune into Baylor, she's pitching. So, unfortunately, that's the case because of the injuries they've had. Offensively, they've had some nagging injuries. Govan wasn't healthy to start the year, so the injuries decimated this team. And the fact that we're even having this conversation is a credit to Glenn Moore and the job they've done, because they played some good softball in the second half of the year, and I think do pose a threat, assuming they get past Kansas, for Texas Tech in that quarterfinal.
Lily Walker is a great story, by the way, going to Oklahoma City. She's got relatives. Part of her heritage is like a Chickasaw Nation, Native American, not too far from where the tournament obviously being played. She's an Oklahoma native, helped Duke get to the Women's College World Series last year. I like her odds, and I love how you mentioned that. Baylor's got to beat Kansas, and then they'll have to beat Texas Tech. But as far as being ready for this moment, they've got the woman in the circle to turn the keys over to that can hopefully turn in a couple big-time performances. Other teams I want to look at on the bubble, I had a chance to talk to Coach Gordon Eakin yesterday as we're getting ready for this. I think he feels like, of course, his team should get in because he's the BYU's coach. How does Eric Lopez feel about BYU getting in?
Right now, I got them as my first team out when my bracketology comes out this week. So they're right in the cusp. The thing that hurts them, Pete, is their non-conference schedule strength. It's, I believe, 190-something when I last checked. That's not good. The committee frowns on that. But they have some good wins. They have wins over Washington. They have wins over at Arizona State. They got wins against UCF. So they have the wins. I think they got to get to the Big 12 final. You look at their draw. They open with Houston. That's a must-win for them. They cannot lose that game. Then they get, if they win that, they get Iowa State. And boy, Iowa State's been the surprise of the Big 12. I think Jamie Pinkerton should win Coach of the Year. That's a dangerous game for BYU, but you know, Iowa State's in the 60s. So it's a very favorable draw for BYU as far as a path to get to the semifinal. And then maybe you play Arizona, and if you upset Arizona, boom, that's maybe that marquee win that gets you in to the field of 64. But I think they got to make a run here in the Big 12. But they're certainly capable. Remember, Pete, last year they made a run to the semifinal. So it should not be a surprise if they do make a run.
What do you think it would mean for BYU to get back to the tournament? I mean, like, what is it? I think that, you know, and give me some grace here, but like 18 straight years for Coach Eakin. So and then now 3 straight where they haven't made it. Like, how important is it for that program to punch their ticket to the field of 64 again?
I mean, it's significant considering where they came from. They were in the West Coast Conference. I think people forget that. In softball, they were in the West Coast Conference, which is a very lower level softball league in the 20s as far as conference is concerned. So to go from there and to the Big 12, I'll be honest, I think a lot of people, myself included, are surprised how competitive they've been so quickly 2 years into the Big 12, considering the jump that they had. It would be the equivalent, Pete, of a college football or basketball program coming from a lower level conference. Let's use the basketball reference. Imagine a basketball program going from the ASUN straight to the Big 12. That'd be a huge jump, right? Same here. And the fact that they're in the mix here and finished 6th in the Big 12 is a credit to Gordon Eakin. So yeah, I think it'd be pretty big for them to get over that hump and say, yeah, we've not only can compete at this level, but we can get back to what we used to be, and that's in the tournament consistently.
One of the teams I'm so excited to see, because I haven't seen them at all this year, is Arizona State. Obviously, a new addition to the Big 12, along with Arizona this year. What are your feelings about the Sun Devils? Do you see them as a shoo-in to get to the NCAA tournament? And what are your expectations of them coming to Oklahoma City? First time for Coach Bartlett as a head coach in Oklahoma City.
I have them in. I think they should be in. I think they have like 9 top 50 wins. They got great wins on their resume. Finished top 5. And really, you mentioned Megan Bartlett. Of course, she's been in the Big 12 before when she was the assistant at Texas a couple of years ago. Kenzie Brown's the name to watch. She's healthy this year. She wasn't healthy last year. She missed all of last year. She's healthy this year. She's going to be an all Big 12 pitcher. By the way, folks in Oklahoma, in the area, Thursday morning, get out of work early. Go to Oklahoma State, Arizona State early. You can still listen to Pete on the broadcast on the phone, but I'm telling you, go watch Kenzie Brown against potentially Ruby Malin. That might be one of the best matchups in the entire country on Thursday. But they have a good offense. Kelsey Hall, Tanya Windle and company, a very young group. Megan Bartlett's doing a great job recruiting and getting Arizona State back to where they used to be. They're in, to me, the question with them is, are they a 2 seed or a 3 seed? And that might be dictated by how they do this week.
How about the squad in your backyard? You don't know anybody better than you do the folks in Orlando, UCF, Cindy Ball Malone. They just continue to get better and better and better. And you look at their RPI now, it's among the tops in the Big 12. I mean, they're a shoo-in for the tournament. What are your expectations of the Knights?
Unbelievable job by Coach Ball Malone. They graduated 11 seniors from last year. People on the outside thinking this is a rebuild year, and here they are, 12-12. They have 29 in the RPI, 11 top 50 wins, 5 quad 1 wins, which are wins against the top 25, with a very young team led by a freshman by the name of Isabella Vega, who could win Big 12 Freshman of the Year. She was a national top 25 finalist for Freshman of the Year. She has been tremendous, a 1-2 punch with her and the senior, Caitlin Felton. And then offensively, they've come around in the last month. You know about Sierra Humphreys. She's a talent. But the freshmen, Izzy Mertez, Beth Damon, have really stepped up offensively. A couple weeks ago, they were down 11-0 against Stetson in the 3rd inning, and exploded to come all the way back to make the greatest comeback in program history, winning at 14-13. And then this past weekend against Kansas, they were down in the 7th inning, both on Saturday and Sunday games, came back, scored runs. Kendall Yarnell, the kid from Kansas, not miles away from Lawrence, hits a pinch hit 3-run homer. Their offense has come to life. This is a dangerous team. And remember, they play Utah to start. If they get past that game, they would get Arizona. They beat Arizona 2 out of 3 in Tucson earlier in the year in the Big 12. So they've got the arms and their offense has come to life. This is a dangerous UCF team if you're looking for a sleeper.
Coach Ball Malone is pretty low-key, right? Tough coach, hard-nosed. Being around her all season and seeing how this team has elevated and taken flight, how you know her, how excited do you think she is, even if she's trying to hide it a little bit?
I think she's feeling good about the last couple of weeks. I know she wasn't happy about a month ago because there was some kind of roller coaster there, as you would expect for some youth. But I think she likes where they're peaking right now at the right time. And she challenges her team. Right now, they have the, I believe, 6th or 7th toughest non-conference schedule in the country. I think they're 12th or 13th overall in toughest schedule, and they've done this with this young nucleus that they have. A majority of their offense and production comes from freshmen and sophomores. So the future is very bright here at UCF, and I think she's excited. This will be the 5th straight NCAA tournament appearance for this program. The previous best was 3 years in a row. I think she's shown she's one of the best coaches in the country, and I think you've shown that with how they're developing players and evaluating talent and recruiting. And I think UCF's certainly right there at the top there for the Big 12 moving forward.
So I'm calling the series with Kat Osterman. How good? Give people an idea. How good was Kat Osterman in the circle?
Maybe the GOAT. That might be a term to use. The GOAT. I mean, when you think softball, she's the first name that comes up. I mean, that's without question that lefty, that intimidating look, and just dominating offenses. I think she is without question the face and, in a lot of ways, the voice of softball. And I think it's exciting. I think the Big 12 should be fortunate. And it's fitting that she's part of the Big 12 championship. She made her name in the Big 12. She loves the Big 12. I think if you ask her about that, and I think it's a blessing for, if you're the Big 12 conference, to have Kat Osterman as part of your coverage.
All right, Eric Lopez, D1 softball. You got an article coming up to preview the tournament.
Yep.
Are you going to do a 10-12 podcast for a Big 12 tourney preview? What do you got next?
I got bracketology, so I got to wear that hat. And then I also got the In the Circle podcast. We'll be doing live shows from the Oklahoma City. We have to bring you in for one of those live shows. So we got
Let's go.
Okay. Well, we'll text each other there. We'll make that happen. Yeah. So we got some live shows going on, but we'll also do bracketology. And like you mentioned, the article I got on D1 softball previewing the Big 12 tournament. So it's a busy time, but it's an exciting time.
Where can people find you to follow you on social media?
Eric Lopez ELO. ELO with Eric on all your social media platforms. That's the best, easiest place to find me.
All right, nobody does it better than Eric Lopez, man. I so appreciate you taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you in OKC, brother.
Anytime, buddy. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you in person this week.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.